Everyone, and welcome to another Spodcast. Apologies, there's been such a big break. I decided to take a break for Easter, and then the weekend after, I just got so sort. I just had to go. Sorry, can't do a podcast, but don't worry, we are back once again, and I have a brand new guest. I always try to get new people on the podcast, so straight away I'm just going to introduce my friend Josh, otherwise known as Cosvlogs. He does Twitch streaming, he's a cosplayer, he helps organise the Disney meet. If you ever go to MCM Comic Cons in London, you're talking 200 people dressed in Disney. It's amazing to see, and it's great to have him on the podcast. So, hey, Josh, how are you doing?
Hi, CJ. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's good to be back doing podcasting, and I haven't seen you probably in about a year and a half since the last MCM Comic Con.
I know.
A while.
Yeah, I mean, I knew. Just doesn't like me today, and I apologize for that. Technology, you would think me doing content creation, that technology would be okay for me. Clearly doesn't like me today. I think I got quite lucky. Myself and a few other cosplay friends actually got to do a con right before the start of lockdown last year. So whilst everyone else probably had, I would say, maybe October, maybe November for Birmingham as their last con, and then that's it for them. I got a little sweet juice of con that I was like, yep, that's it, that'll do me. And then now it's going to be really weird. Once things do start easing up a bit, it's going to feel like a completely different situation once we get back to conventions.
One thing I do know is my friends are so glad they haven't seen me for a year and a half. Their ears are no longer bleeding. But here, podcasts, it's all about talking, so you guys are going to have your ears bleeding for the next 40 minutes or so. So let's get straight into it. And I always love having a kind of a debate, a topic in podcasts, and it's a bit of a doozy of a one today, and it is, do you prefer binging episodes or do you prefer weekly episodes? So straight away, I'm just going to jump into you, Josh, and say what you prefer. Do you like binging episodes? Do you like weekly episodes? Or what does it depend on for you?
I think it is a bit of it depends on the show. So I know, whilst I don't watch it myself, I know my dad does, which is Lucifer. Now, I get why some sort of TV companies, film companies, however it is that they want to work it, they will just give you the entirety of its series for you to binge watch, basically. But my dad treats it like a weekly series, so he will watch an episode and wait a week for the next one rather than binging it. But yeah, I'm really impressed, because it is such a tempting thing. It is. Again, going on Lucifer, it is like the devil is tempting you, where it's like, here, have everything you ever want, and you have to, you sort of go, do I just watch it all, get it done in probably about a day, maybe 2 days if I'm really taking my time, and then it's like, oh, that's it all done now. So it's like, you've then got to either find something new, or what I've been doing lately is rewatching series. So those are the kind of sort of series that I know that I can just binge it because there's not going to be any new episodes or anything like that. One of which I actually rewatched was, surprisingly enough, Ugly Betty, which was like back in 2007, I think it was. And because obviously there's no new episodes, I just binged it in its entirety. But I do get where there are some series. I don't think there's been any series I've been watching where they just release them all at once. I've been sort of finding a lot of shows that come out on weekly episodes. I think an example is like My Hero Academia, that comes out weekly, but I've got to wait even longer because I watch them dubbed. I don't watch them subbed, so they come out as subbed first. So there is that temptation where I'm just like, do I just watch it and just have it Japanese and just have it subbed? But I'm like, no, I'll wait and then watch it dubbed. So I much prefer weekly content because it gives me something to look forward to.
Yeah. Again, you're right in saying it depends on the show. Now, Netflix and Disney Plus kind of have a kind of conflicting kind of thing going at the minute, whereas Netflix prefers the majority of the time to just release everything at once, and Disney Plus is going for the weekly format. Now, I'm not going to talk about any major spoilers, so don't worry. But Lucifer is an interesting case because it is a show that when it first aired on network TV, it was a weekly show.
Yeah.
When it moved to Netflix, it became a binge show where you could watch everything all in one go. And I got the latest episodes, the ones that aren't out until May 28th, last week from Netflix. Thanks, Netflix. And I was going to just do 1 or 2 episodes over time and just write my articles and everything like that. And I sat down on the Sunday with the plan of just watching 1 or 2 episodes and making some notes. 6 episodes later, I realised the time and I'm like, oh, oops. And I ended up binging pretty much the entire second half of 5B in thereabouts a day. Didn't get much of our work done, but I will say this, 'cause in case a few people are wondering, you have nothing to worry about in the second half of the season. I'm not going to say anything more than that. I'm not covering it or talking about it or doing anything until May, but I will say, guys, you have nothing to worry about when it comes to season 5B. But let's get back on point. But I accidentally binged.
Yeah.
And one of my favourite examples at the minute is WandaVision. Perfect show for weekly. It had you talking, it left you on cliffhangers.
Yeah.
Whereas I've found Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which we're going to talk about in more detail later, I haven't enjoyed the weekly format of it. I think that would have been better as a binge show. So I think a lot of it comes down to the story. Yeah,
I mean, I completely agree with you with WandaVision because I think that's how it was set up. It was set up as that sort of like sitcom-y, episodic. It had that episodic feeling, whereas, as you say, with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I do agree that I think it would have been a good binge-worthy show. But I will actually say I quite like it having it as a weekly episodic show because I think the good thing with having a lot of series as weekly episodes is it's giving you the time between episodes to really think about even the smallest details, especially for something like MCU style shows because WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier are the first sort of TV series that we're getting coming out of the MCU. So it's interesting how they're tackling going from 10 years worth of Marvel movies to them making them into episodic series, still following along on the characters that we've sort of gotten to know and almost grown up with through the movies, where we sit a good couple of hours to then being like, oh, we're now going to see them on a weekly basis. And I like that where, as you say, getting it as a weekly episode, I'm seeing people on TikTok, on Instagram, doing theory videos from just a single episode. Whereas if they were to be able to binge watch it, it almost takes that element away because it's like, oh, I've watched the first episode, now I can watch the next episode. And it just, because you then don't have to wonder what's going to happen, kind of thing. Like you're saying with WandaVision, you'd have these cliffhangers and being like, oh God, what, like, the whole thing with the beekeeper in the first episode, and it's like, what does that symbolize, and why are we seeing out of a TV at the end of each episode? And it's like, oh, this really gets people's brains going. And I think it's the same, having them as a weekly sort of series works better than, as you say, with Lucifer being a network show that was weekly to them being a binge-worthy show. You take away so many elements of TV series that people enjoy, which is theorizing, it's debate, it's all these sort of elements that you get from being there at the end of an episode and your jaw is on the floor.
I'd love to see shows kind of doing little mini kind of binge watches, so you kind of have maybe a chunk of 2 or 3 episodes, but then you've got to wait 2 weeks and like kind of change the dynamic a bit. So
I know a lot of American shows do that though, and it does kind of reflect in British TV as well, because one series that me and my mum loved was Modern Family, and they would do it that they would film like one season would be about like 20 episodes, but they'd
In
film
America, it's roughly 22 episodes, and they have a mini hiatus at around Christmas.
yeah. So if they did something like if a lot of pop culture that we like with Marvel, Star Wars, Disney, everything like that, especially now that like we've got Disney Plus, if it was that we had something similar to a point where, as you say, that sort of like mini, sort of like 2 to 3 episodes, take a break, and then you get another chunk again, that would be really interesting, especially if you do start getting shows. Like, I would love to see if WandaVision got another season, if they decided to do something similar to WandaVision, as you say, maybe like doing like a mini sort of like Westview, like they do a Westview series. Like, what would the other inhabitants of Westview doing during WandaVision? Like, maybe do like a what if kind of thing that they're already doing, and going, right, here's something to sort of keep you going right until the next episode kind of thing. Like, just mini shows in between, so people still enjoy something like WandaVision or The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but there's something in between that's still just sort of like, oh, you know what, I can't wait for the next episode, but I just need something. I don't want to keep rewatching.
I find that I like the weekly format originally. Like, I was a big TV fan of Lost. I don't know if you can see it, but there's like all the Lost box sets literally just hidden down there.
Oh, right.
But I used to love the weekly format, and they're talking about it. But then as TV's change and we have streaming services, I've started leaning towards the binge side, because I want to be able to watch things when I want to watch them. And I wouldn't watch an entire series in a night. I'd maybe watch 2 or 3 episodes, and the next night I'd watch 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
But then when The Mandalorian came out, that got me back loving the weekly kind of episode format. And I think a lot of it comes down to the storytelling, having those cliffhangers, and knowing what you can kind of discuss.
I think in regards to The Mandalorian, though, is I saw The Mandalorian as a very much, the last episode is the end goal, but all the episodes are just mini episodes leading up to it. Whereas, again, like with WandaVision and the MCU ones, apologies. With WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, what we're finding is, whilst each episode is still leading us to the end point, you could technology, my God, I'm so sorry. Oh,
it's all right, it happens.
Whilst each episode us to the end, I'm not. I swear to whatever deity. Can they please just bestow upon me some blessing on my webcam, because I clearly do not have it today.
The webcam obviously does not agree with.
No, they don't. No, binge worthy. The webcam loves binge. The webcam loves to binge. But I think, as I say, like a good example I find was the Ahsoka episode of The Mandalorian. Like, you could have just had that as that works as a standalone episode on its own. Like, that doesn't have that much sort of push to the final episodes, whereas, as you say, those episodes of WandaVision each gave something new, but it all revolved around the fact that Wanda was controlling everything, kind of thing. So I find that those kind of series only work because they're episodic, whereas The Mandalorian, you can sort of, even though they're weekly episodes, they kind of work on their own. You don't need to wait for the next episode that much, because it kind of like it was just that they kind of worked on their own with sort of the Mandalorian and the child, because he's protecting him and everything like that.
I think a big part of it as well is you'll find binge-worthy shows are half, because the network TV shows in America are 22 episodes, roughly 22 to 24, 20 episodes. It depends on the show and what they've signed. But binge shows are usually 10 episodes. So they're kind of shortened down the series to have a more concise story
Yeah.
for that reason.
Yeah.
But again, I think it depends on the show in itself.
Yeah.
But people listening, please let us know, because I think we've talked about this for a good 15 odd minutes now. Please let us know in the comments, what are your thoughts on binging and what are your thoughts on weekly episodic content? Is there any type of show that you prefer that does that? Do you think there's any shows that have worked really well? We'd love to know in the comments, and maybe we will bring this up again in the future. And let's move on to the next thing. If you're big on gaming or even animated TV shows or little feature movies, there's been a lot of news about Resident Evil this week. They announced the date for Resident Evil Infinite Darkness coming to Netflix, which is in July. I want to say the 21st of July, but I know it's definitely back end of July. But also they started to give us more information on Resident Evil 8, which has a lot of hype. And it has a lot of about big, tall Lady Dimitri, or Dimitru. No one knows the actual name and how it's pronounced right now.
I think the U is silent. I think the U is silent, so it's like Dimitru.
But big, tall, bitey, vampy lady, as I like to call her. There's been a lot of news about the game. Josh, are you a big fan of the Resident Evil series? Do you play many? I know you Twitch stream, and I know you play Dead by Daylight, which I know you're excited by the fact there's Resident Evil content.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on the Resident Evil, just such big news about Resident Evil this week?
There has been. I will say as well, I did actually stream Resident Evil 7 a few months back, and I'm finding playing horror games, especially for people that stream, horror games are like, they're like a dime a dozen. You find so many Twitch streamers that they will play horror games because the reaction from the audience, from them to their audience, is always just, you love to laugh at someone who just gets jump scared, basically. And I find that for me, that when they changed the view perspective from third to first person, I'm finding it that Resident Evil is a lot more like, I feel like it is a horror now. Like, I always know that Resident Evil is a horror. Like, that's no shadow of a doubt. But I'm finding now that because it's a first person perspective, that it's like through my eyes, I'm finding it a lot more terrifying. I don't think people are going to be as scared with Resident Evil Village. Like you say, tall bitey lady is not going to make people that scared. They're just going to
want to get bit.
They want to get bit. They're going to spend too many times dying because they're just going to be like, bitey lady, please, yes, thank you.
See, I'm not bothered about Lady D biting us, but those cute little vampire minions, yep.
Oh, the minions.
Oh, the vampire minions.
Yeah,
I know they're not your type, but they're definitely mine.
No, trust me. I may be walking the rainbow road, but even I wouldn't mind getting stomped by the lady vampires.
Okay, fair enough. As long as we're in agreement.
There we go.
I nearly said something worse there. I said everyone loves the D, but that's, you know.
It's the Lady D.
It's the Lady D.
There we go.
Resident Evil is like an amazing franchise, and it did struggle around 5 and 6, but it's brought it back in 7. If you've ever played it in VR as well, oh my god, it just adds to the freakiness. But Resident Evil 8 is looking so good. I'm going to pre-order it once I next get paid.
Nice.
If Capcom, if you're watching, if you want to send me a review, go for it. Highly unlikely, with us being a TV site, but
I mean,
might get lucky. But if you're a big fan of Resident Evil, you want to check out some of the news, there is some time demos out as well. As I say this, in the UK, the time demos just went live for the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, and there's another one next weekend, so check those out. But talking zombies and scariness, oh, go on, do you want to say something?
No, I think, if I remember correctly, they are doing a PC demo in May. At the end of May, there's the PC demo of Resident Evil Village.
It's a multi-platform demo in May. But at the minute, it's PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 only. I've already downloaded it, ready. My PlayStation controller is
See,
ready.
I never got a chance to get a PS5. I've only got a PS4, an Xbox One, and a PC. And since getting my PC, I'm playing a lot more PC games. So, I mean, am I okay to mention about the Dead by Daylight stuff?
Go on, you can mention it. Go on.
So one of the other things that they did reveal is Resident Evil is finally coming to Dead by Daylight. And it is one of the games that I play religiously. And what I've found out as well is it's the release of the Resident Evil chapter for Dead by Daylight is around the same time of their 5th anniversary, and a lot of the times their anniversaries they've been getting a lot of sort of licensed chapters. So their 3rd year anniversary, they got the Stranger Things chapter. So we got the Demogorgon, Steve Harrington and Nancy Wheeler. Their 4th year, which was last year, they actually, again, because I think this is Capcom as well, they got Silent Hill. So they got Pyramid Head and Cheryl Mason, and they also got a new map, which was the Midwich Elementary.
I think Silent Hill's Konami or whatever it's
yes,
called.
Konami. Sorry, yeah, that's not Capcom. But now we've got the Resident Evil chapter, so a lot of people are now theorizing who we're going to get, and some people are thinking that we're looking at either Nemesis or Mr. X as the killer, and possibly Leon or, and again, I can never remember names that
Claire?
well. Not Claire. It's another female character. No, Ada Wong. Ada Wong is potentially the 2 survivor choices that we are looking at, as well as maybe a new map, because we haven't had a new map in Dead by Daylight recently, and it could potentially be the Raccoon City Police Department. So I am very much looking forward to maybe actually getting more invested in Resident Evil, because that's what I really like. I like seeing games that have that kind of crossover aspect to them, because it makes people more interested in trying out the whole crossover that's brought it into the games that, or even just any kind of franchise that they really enjoy.
Definitely. So, zombies. Netflix. Again, there's a lot of Netflix talk. I'm starting to think I'm a Netflix sim. But Army of the Dead trailer came out. Dave Bautista, starring in Zack Snyder's zombie story. He did Dawn of the Dead many years ago. I don't know if this is kind of a sequel to it or it's linked to that universe, but the zombies are getting smarter. They have their own society and they're living in Las Vegas. Now, Josh, you're not a big fan of zombie films, but did this trailer excite you for the upcoming release?
I will say it did make me sort of excited to try and see something like this, because it does bring a different aspect into the sort of zombie movies, which again, they've been around for decades. But I have it here in my notes. Now, when I watched the trailer, my brain immediately went to Zombieland meets Fast and Furious meets Ocean's 12.
Yeah, I kind of like, yeah, because you've kind of got the whole the Ocean series where they're in Vegas. You have got the stupidity of Zombieland.
Yeah.
And it's just totally over the top. I was getting kind of Guardians of the Galaxy sort of thing as well. I know that's James Gunn with just Dave Bautista being in that as well. But I love the humour. I like zombie films that have like the horror element, but just have those like small quips, and they're not afraid to mock themselves. They're not trying to be all serious. They're kind of like, look, it's a zombie film. We're in Las Vegas. Let's have fun with it. And I think a lot of actors, when they're having a fun character in this sort of universe, they actually have fun themselves, and that actually relates better off screen. You
can really see. And again, I think Guardians of the Galaxy is a really good example in the fact that if the actors and the crew are, it's almost just like having like a viewpoint into the sort of actor's life of just sort of like just having fun on set, just having a laugh, being with your friend. It's why a lot of like Adam Sandler movies are like, they are literally just him with his mates having a load of fun. But let's just make a movie about it. Let's literally just make a movie about a load of people having fun. Right. Like, I feel like they were there at the pitch meeting and was just, I I can't remember off the top of my head. It's like the book that you write in. It's like, give me a noun, give me a verb, and all of that. It was literally like that kind of game where they were just like, right, we need a movie. What do we want? Right, zombies. Yes. What else? Bank heist, vaults,
What's on the
money.
desk next to you? The zombie dog. What?
Yeah. What? Yeah. It's literally just like that. But you're just sat there and you're just like, this is gonna be just a stupid film. But I'm gonna love it. It's one of those cheesy B movies, but with almost like an A-list cast kind of thing.
It does look like it's going to be very funny rather than horror, but obviously people are going to die. There's going to be gore. But there was something the week previous that sent shivers through my spine in how scary it was, and that was a clip from Ghostbusters Afterlife and the mini Stay Puffs with Paul Rudd. They were freaky, they were scary, we would be having nightmares about them forever. But that clip, I think, was better than the trailer. I don't know if that is a separate scene and it appears in the film, but I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Sorry, Baby Yoda, you've been demoted. I feel like I need to get him from behind us there and just throw him out the window. But the mini puffs are amazing. What did you think of that sneak peek to the new Ghostbusters film?
I always like seeing I always like seeing what is potentially just a remake, like films that are remade but still pay homage to what made those films great. Like, me personally, and I've had this conversation with my dad, I would love to see Back to the Future remade. Like, especially now, because the whole point of Back to the Future was that they went to 2015, and we're now in 2021, so I would love to see what they could do there.
Rather than remake, I'd actually like them to be in 2015 and go, how different is this compared to what we saw? And they tell a new story compared to that. So they go to the future, and then the hoverboards are there. So
Yeah, no, I that would be interesting. But then, do you still want them to keep the cheesy 80s? Because that's what I think. I would love to see, like, because I feel like, again, this is the weirdest thing, but it's like the 90s the 90s were 30 years ago. Like, this was the whole thing, is obviously it was like the 80s when we had Back to the Future 2 to bring us about 30 years into the future. So it's now just like, oh, like the 90s were 30 years ago. And it's the same with Ghostbusters. It's like, I never grew up with Ghostbusters because I think I was quite young. I was either... I genuinely can't remember. When did the Ghostbusters movies actually come out?
It was 80s.
Yeah, so I wasn't even born when the Ghostbusters came out.
Wow, it made me feel old.
I knew that as soon as I said that. I'm gonna make you feel old. But I wasn't born when the Ghostbusters film series, or not even a series, just the films came out. But I still grew up with those kind of films, like Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, and things like that. So it's interesting to see how they're trying to make Ghostbusters relevant for this year. And what we're finding is it's cute things. We're apparently obsessed with cute things. So again, like The Mandalorian, we've had Baby Yoda. For Ghostbusters, we've got the mini puffs. I dread to think what cute thing we are going to get in any kind of like, can you imagine if we got like another, we've had Terminator. Like, I don't know why I said Terminator.
What, like little mini Terminators running around on a desk?
No. So it's like freaking Sarah Connor has to... Sarah Connor is now a grandmother, and there is a Terminator baby. There you go. Well, Fox, hire me.
A prediction of these things being popular. The next thing they are going to make, and it has to happen, is a remake of Gremlins. That is a film that is desperate to be brought back.
Yes. Oh my god, that would be amazing. But how could you make... How could you make Gizmo even cuter? Because they use puppetry for Gizmo. They've used puppetry for the child for Baby Yoda. I'm assuming that I think it's definitely CG for the Stay Puft. How can you top the cuteness? How could you
I think
make
they could probably
something...
make him look more realistic, like a real life pet. Because when you watch the films again, Gizmo does it's just the eyes, but they could actually make him a bit more animated and have him running about more, where it doesn't look like it's a little puppet running like this.
Yeah,
but I think that is due a remake. But the little mini puffs have definitely got me excited for Ghostbusters. And talking about things that make us excited, that's the best segue ever. Is the new Loki trailer as well that's come out for Disney Plus, which is going to be a weekly show as well. Just throwing that in the connected back to the start of the podcast, because I haven't been a fan of Falcon and the Winter Soldier very much, and obviously we'll talk about that after. But I've been more excited by this Loki trailer than I was about Falcon Winter Soldier, which I'll explain why after. But first, what did you think of that first initial trailer?
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love Tom Hiddleston. Tom Hiddleston is Loki. Tom Hiddleston. I don't know. I'm almost speechless for how excited I am for Loki, because the whole thing that we saw at the end of Endgame to get this as the setup has just really thrown me now, because I'm not much of a comic fan as I am to just being so invested in the MCU. And the fact that we've got Owen Wilson in this now, and I've really enjoyed a lot of his work, I don't know what they're going to do. Some people have theorized that they want to put Loki into historical events and just see what Loki would do. Like,
maybe Loki's the one that has caused these historical events.
That's exactly what it is, because again, he is the god of he's the trickster god, and everything like that. So an example that they gave was the stabbing of Julius Caesar. So as random as that is, it would be interesting to see how they're going to work around this, and I would love to see if they could bring back, or if they bring in Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One that we've seen in Doctor Strange, because she was such a key element in the Endgame analysis. You've taken out the all the Infinity Stones from their timelines, you need to put them back in, or the sort of timelines start to deteriorate. She has such a knowledge on all of this that you wonder if she somehow she has to know who these people are and what they do, to maybe have some sort of involvement, to be like, oh, okay, so we're going to speak to the Ancient One, like, we're going to bring Loki to the Ancient One, because he's already met Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Like, we had that whole thing of him just going into a portal and just falling for like 30 minutes. So I'd love to see an interaction between Loki and the Ancient One.
You've got to remember that the Loki that we are looking at has not had those interactions.
That's very true.
The Loki that hasn't become the kind of... He kind of became a hero by the end, in a sense.
Yeah.
Or he came back on the track of good, and he did it to save Thor.
Yeah.
But that is not the Loki we are getting. We are getting post-Avengers, bad guy, hasn't settled down, Loki, which I think a lot of people are going to forget. What would be interesting, though, is if the Time Bureau, or whatever they're called, I think I'm getting mixed up with DC now, if they show him what his future was meant to be.
Which I think that they might do, because I think that's gonna then, for want of a better word, I think that's gonna then please the MCU fans, because they already know who Loki is. They've already seen his character development through Thor: The Dark World, Infinity War, Ragnarok, to then sort of Endgame, to where we see him now. So I think they might, as you say, sort of sit him down and strap him in and be like, right, you've done something very, very naughty here, because this is who you're actually meant to be, and now we're stuck with this. So what are we going to do with you? Well, let's just put you into every single historical event and see if you can fix them, you now work for us to pay off the debt that, like, you've cost us so much in time that we are going to basically hire you, basically imprison him, and you now have to fix, like, you now work for us and fix all these situations. So you need to make sure that the Hindenburg goes down. You need to make sure that, like, I don't know, like, World War II...
Well, it looks like he causes Pompeii, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, but that's where it's going to then be interesting, that whole... Because just thinking of Doctor Who, for example, that whole fixed point in time and all of that lot, whether they play into effect, where you then sort of wonder if what he does is what causes it, or it's something that he has to cause as a member of the Time Bureau or whatever it is, the agency, or... Again, I cannot remember the name of it now, but it is something that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. Now, there is one important thing that we need to think about before we move on to Winter Soldier, and it's how many times is Owen Wilson going to say, wow? His catchphrase from every film, just
every
wow.
Single film. I feel what they're gonna do is, like, you wonder if it's like you are contractually obligated to say it in at least once every episode.
It'd be totally crazy. It could make us think it's going to see something like, isn't that amazing? He goes, well, I wonder. And they just build it up to
they
the
just
last
episode, and then they just go, oh my god, wow.
You know how they build it up in WandaVision to the reveal that her name is the Scarlet Witch? Every episode would build up to that cliffhanger.
To the wow.
Goes, what do you think of that? And it just ends on Owen Wilson going, wow. And then that's it. Ends the series.
That's it. Yeah, no, that would be perfect. That would be absolutely perfect.
And talking about things that aren't perfect, let's move on to Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm gonna be pretty blunt here. I think the main problem for me for the Falcon and Winter Soldier is the pacing. I think there's two things that they could have done. Number one, they could have done them as two separate shows, and I think they haven't because they think the two sidekicks that wouldn't get enough people watching, which I think is a load of rubbish because I think the MCU is so strong they would have. But I think they've tried to do too much, and I think they either needed a Winter Soldier story to do with the super soldiers, and they should have had a Falcon separate show about him dealing with US agent and the government and the racism as a separate, have those as two separate shows. Or what they should have done is just got rid of episode 2, got rid of episode 3, and that would have got rid of all the kind of pace. And I know episode 1 was really slow, but that would have paid off with episode 4 being episode 2, with US Agent losing his mind, and then episode 5, which we've just had, leading on to it, which would have been a nice, perfect kind of pacing to those first 3 episodes. But that's my opinion. I think the past 2 episodes have been brilliant. They've definitely been an improvement, but I think just this should have been a movie. It shouldn't have been episodes. It should have been a more condensed movie, and maybe they were going to be a movie and they've tried to split it into a TV show, and personally for me it hasn't worked. But Josh, what are your opinions on Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I mean, first off, I will agree with you. The pacing of it, I think they've not hit the mark for it. Story-wise, what you've said, I do agree with. I do think it would have worked very well. I personally think it would have been great to have seen a Winter Soldier series that started with him falling out of the train during Captain America: The First Avenger, and following his journey, becoming the Winter Soldier, his journey through Wakanda to then become the White Wolf, and everything like that. And then, as you say, the Falcon being that series, how we've seen it from the start of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, of Sam Wilson dealing with the sort of death of Steve Rogers, to him not sure whether he should take the mantle of Captain America, to, as you say, the racism of where... I don't want to say anything that's too spoilery. How much can I say about the latest episode?
Let's talk about it all. It's Ed.
That's fine. So that whole thing of Isaiah Bradley being like, no self-respecting black man would ever want to be Captain America. And again, we're two white men talking about this, so we can't fully understand that issue as to why a black man may or may not want to be Captain America. But I do, whilst I may not understand it, I may not sort of understand the racism, I can at least be someone who can be like, yeah, that is wrong, kind of thing.
That's what Bucky even said to Sam when they were outside, saying, me and Steve wanted you, obviously, even admits that they'd had a conversation about him getting the shield, but they hadn't actually thought about it from Sam's point of view, which I think was a it's
a nice little keynote into that, as you say, that sort of systematic racism, in that white people will never understand from this perspective, but they have to do everything they can to make sure that they can sort of
support
it and be made to understand. And I think there's this constant debate in the fact that Steve Rogers was the Captain America that America thought they were. John Walker is the Captain America that America actually is, and Sam Wilson is the Captain America that America should be. That's the debate at the moment, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I will be very excited to see how episode 6 does play out for this entire series. But I would love to see it tackle these issues individually. I feel like it is that sort of like, we need something else to beef it up. We can't just have a sort of black focused series that has predominantly been focused on Steve Rogers, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white American man kind of thing. So, and I think it's such an issue that we've been facing for years, and even more so recently with what's been going on in America, that this is the perfect time for something like this to have been released. So I do wholeheartedly commend the MCU for going and making this series and working so closely with a lot of these sort of BLM organizations to make this happen. And I do enjoy it. I've enjoyed every single episode, but the pacing can be a bit off.
I feel, personally, this is kind of like the preview series to what the series should have been. Like, they could have done an extended episode to kind of cover this, and then we could have had Sam as Captain America and dealing with these issues. This feels like it's the preview to the series that's coming up. I think this is... I don't think Loki can... Well, Loki could probably get... I think... Have they got a season 2? I think Loki has a season 2. WandaVision, I don't think will get a season 2. I think...
No, because I think that ties in with the multiverse of madness with Doctor Strange.
But I think Falcon and Winter Soldier, now it's actually hit where it needs to be, is ready for a second season. I think they've just... I think pacing's been it.
I think... And it does make me wonder, because, again, a lot of these are series that lead in to other MCU movies and things like that. So I do wonder if they've got something on the back burner to be like, right, we've got this series because it's going to basically... We'll probably get something like... I don't know what the next big event is that would sort of showcase this in America, whether it's something like the Super Bowl or San Diego Comic-Con or anything like that, that it's going to be like, we've got a brand new trailer that's going to be everything to do with the Falcon becoming Captain America kind of thing. Because I wonder whether they're going to do this next episode and it's just going to finish on Sam accepting the mantle of Captain America, so that we can then do a whole entire movie focused on him and how he is taken to becoming the next Captain America.
Now, at one point just before we're finished, I think it needs bringing up as a very small scene, but I think it's a very important scene, and that was the introduction of the Contessa, who is also known as Lady Hydra. which was a very big cameo. It was, what's her name? It's Julie Louise Dreyfus, if I'm saying her name right. I can never remember her name, it's too long-winded.
Yeah.
But that character is a huge, huge deal. And they've just kind of subtly dropped her in. And I think she's going to impact... you may not know about this, but I think she's going to be one of those baddies. She's going to be the Agent Coulson of the villains, basically, where she's going to appear in sort of every series and every film in some form until there's a big event in one of the Avenger films. That's going to be my kind of theory. She's going to be the Agent Coulson of the MCU for the bad guys.
See, and again, because I'm not a comic fan, when we got, like, because we had so much build-up for a cameo, like, so many people think, oh, we're going to get, like, a flashback to Steve, we're going to have something to do with the Wakandans, and everything like that. And then when she was introduced, I hadn't had a clue who she is. It went over my head who she is. Now, you're saying that she's going to be, like, the Agent Coulson. Looking a little bit into her after the episode, I feel she's more like Hydra's version of Natasha Romanoff, more than Agent Coulson. Because
I just mean, when I say Agent Coulson, I mean
how
Agent Coulson appeared in every film in some form, like just meddling in the background.
No, I get,
she's going to do. She's going to meddle in the background.
Okay, no, that would be interesting. Because you wonder if they'll do, like, a Hydra version of the Avengers. Now, again, I'm not a comic fan, so there might be some comic book fans that know exactly what her role is through all of this. And there might even be a Hydra version of the Avengers already made. There might be already something like that in the process, or anything like that. And as you say, where she's almost potentially going to be like this Agent Coulson, where she's just going to be there. She might not have a big role to play in the episodes or the films or anything like that, but she's like a little earworm. She's there. She's going to niggle in the back of your mind, and it's like, oh, I wonder what she was doing. Like, oh,
now she is rumoured to actually be in the Black Widow film, so that's going to be interesting.
Okay, so that again could have a, as you say, that sort of like little tie-in. She's just going to be there in these films, so there's going to be like a big group film that we're okay. So that's certainly something to keep in mind then. But again, sort of for me, I didn't know who she was, and I feel like she could have had a much better reveal. I feel like they sort of rushed her in to be like,
it's actually quite a smart one because it gets people talking and asking who she is. So I think it's kind of like a little subtle kind of, oh, this is this person, start getting people wondering about it, and then just kind of build her in as time goes on.
Yeah, no, that is very true. Yeah, no, that could work out quite well. I mean, I'm sure we can all agree with, like, if she's getting involved with John Walker, it's not going to be good. And I think I can speak for a lot of people that I just absolutely hate John Walker. Like, I love the actor. And that is the exact thing. It's the same mentality of Imelda Staunton and Dolores Umbridge. You can hate the character, but you can love the actor, and that's the biggest thing for me. I love how well he's doing this character because I hate the character, but I love him, and that's what I think people are failing to recognize. And I feel so sorry for the actor who plays John Walker, who has had to, like, come away from social media because he's just been getting, like, near-death threats and harassment and everything like that, that it's just like, no, this is the point. He is playing his role so well. Hate John Walker. Don't hate him.
Yeah. But, he's been absolutely brilliant. I think he's definitely been a standout performer for the show. The show has only got one episode left, and it has a lot to do in order to kind of win people back. But who knows what will happen next week. But on that thought, next week we will be talking about the Winter Soldier finale. So, yes, I'm excited to see what happens there. But before we finish off the podcast, I just want to say a big thank you to Josh. If anyone wants to find you or look at some of your future projects, anything like that, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've got planned for the future.
So when I'm not cosplaying, I'm probably annoying the lovely Chris with popping by when he's doing his thing. I do a lot of Twitch streaming. I play a variety of different games ranging from Minecraft, Among Us, Dead by Daylight, all that kind of stuff. I'm actually going to be starting off a series of playing the entire Kingdom Hearts series and streaming it, so I'm really looking forward to that. I know I saw your Sora pop and I was just like, I love them, they're so good. So I stream every Monday, Tuesday, Friday and Saturday at twitch.tv/cosvlogs. I pride myself on trying to be a safe space for anyone who's part of the LGBTQ plus community. So if you just want somewhere that you know that you're going to be respected and valid, definitely come along. You'll be welcomed with open arms. And as I always say to any of my community, we make sure that we embrace the rainbow.
Nice. And hopefully check that out. I'll be obviously putting a link and information in the description. But thank you very much, Joss. And of course, thank you to everyone that's been listening and watching and leaving comments. You know, absolutely appreciate it all. But I will end it there because your ears are no doubt bleeding from all of my talking. But I will see you all next week. Thanks for watching our video, guys. Really hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget you can subscribe to Spoiler TV just using the little Spoiler TV button, or check out some of the latest articles and recommended videos from our channel as well. Thanks for supporting us, and we'll see you again soon.